Our next guest tonight is three guests tonight. From Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, we have American Values President Gary Bauer, a former Republican presidential candidate and a current Donald Trump supporter. From Boston, we've got Jeb Bush's former campaign strategist, Dave Kochel. And out in Los Angeles, we are joined by a Democratic strategist who was a senior advisor to the aforementioned Al Gore's presidential campaign, Robert Shrum. Gentlemen, what an incredible trio you are. I'm going to go. You guys can't see us here. You're lined up. You're lined up ideologically in a kind of odd way, but I'm going to kind of move across here. I'm going to ask Gary Bauer and then Bob Shrum and then Dave Kochel. Where's the race right now, Gary Bauer? Is this race, as many people think, Republican, Democrat alike, is this race basically over?
No, look, it ain't ever over till it's over. I think whether it's sports or politics, you get up every morning and you fight as if you can win. And it's important for the ticket for Trump-Pence to approach the rest of the campaign exactly that way. You go on and make your points. There's a tremendous amount of vulnerabilities for Hillary Clinton. One of them being, which has gotten kind of buried in all of this, is that a good bit of the industrial base of this country has been devastated, and people that have been voting Democrat for years feel that their party has abandoned them. Those are new people for the Republican Party, if it's got enough of a brain to accept them. And I think they need to keep making the case for those people and for Clinton corruption and what that would mean for 4 more years in Washington, D.C.
All right, Gary Bauer, pro-Trump Republican, says the race is not yet over. Bob Shrum, I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is the race over, Bob? Should we stick a fork in it?
I thought it was over on Labor Day, said it on your show, thought Trump was in a demographic cul-de-sac he couldn't get out of. He's made it worse and worse since then. None of his message, by the way, about, say, the industrial base is coming through at all. And in any event, if you look at a state like Pennsylvania, the latest poll shows him losing that state by 12%. In fact, if you go state by state in the battlegrounds, she's ahead in virtually every one of them. I don't see what he's going to do to recover. I think what he did in the debate was get himself a few more Republicans who really dislike the Clintons, but he's stuck at about 39 or 40%. He can't win the election with that 39 or 40%.
All right, so Bob Shrum predictably saying the race is over. It's true, you did say the race is over Labor Day. You told me that. I know, you're being consistent. So now we move to the tiebreaker here. Dave Kochel, Republican, but not a big fan of Donald Trump's. Give us the clear, unbiased view, Dave. Is the race over?
So, yeah, I'll be the tiebreaker. The race is over. Time of death was about 10 o'clock the night of the first debate. It's been downhill ever since, and you can't bring 1 or 2 people into the front door of the party while you're pushing 20 or 30 out the back. So I think it's over, and it's been long over, and we're just on the slide now to see what happens in the last 30 days.
I want to ask all of your questions. Start again with Gary. Go ahead, Gary.
I'm sorry. Go on.
I start with Gary, but I want you all to address this. You've all supported candidates who've done bad things in their personal lives. Every one of you has. Gary, you're supporting a candidate now who on Friday was revealed to have done something that horrifies a lot of people, disgusts a lot of people. What would Donald Trump have to do for you to withdraw your support if it wasn't that tape?
Look, I don't even think in those terms, in all due respect. Everybody, I know this might be news to some folks, but everybody that has ever run for any office in America and every voter that has voted for them, theologically, according to my beliefs as a Christian, are sinners. They've all done things, said things, looked at things, violated various commandments, etc. It's policy. Well, let me just finish the thought.
Go ahead.
It's policy that matters. And the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump has the right positions on growing the economy, shrinking government, lower taxes, pro-life, defending religious liberty, and Hillary Clinton is engaged in a cover-up of her corruption and an apologist for her husband.
So, Gary, why don't you forgive that? If you're personally and theologically,
it's not me to forgive. I don't oppose them because of their activities. I oppose them because they're wrong philosophically.
Well, but many supporters of Donald Trump have been critical of President Clinton, for instance, for his personal failings. Why are you less forgiving personally
I mean, I don't
and
speak for
theologically
every
for that?
evangelical or every values voter.
I'm trying to understand.
In an election, the issues ought to be the differences on policy between the candidates. It's night and day.
Have you ever?
By the way, Al Gore was down in Florida campaigning for Hillary Clinton today. I seem to remember that Al Gore was publicly accused of being a sexual assaulter by multiple massagers
would you forgive
in
him?
Multiple
would you
cities,
forgive him
and
for
she
that?
campaigns with him in Florida
Would you
today.
forgive him for that and say he's a sinner and you forgive him?
I'm pointing out the hypocrisy of the left acting like a 10-year-old tape is somehow horrifying when the left in this country has been associated with radical social policy.
Right. Okay, Bob, let me ask you to critique Gary's answers.
Well, I think it's absurd. I think it's entirely unfair to bring up that charge against Al Gore, which was never substantiated. What Donald Trump did, what he said, has come out of his own mouth. I think he's been condemned. Not just Gary, I didn't interrupt you, so why don't you not interrupt me, okay? This guy,
well,
it's not just what he said. Gary, don't interrupt. You can't win the argument by interrupting. Look, what Donald Trump said 10 or 11 years ago, when he was, by the way, a 59-year-old man, not some college kid, was outrageous. But he said things like it over and over and over again. He said them in this campaign to Megyn Kelly. He said them in the first debate about Rose. I mean, he just does it over and over and over again. I mean, I could go through all the quotes. Piggy. I mean, we've seen them all. This is who he is, and I think it makes it very difficult to take somebody that unstable. It's not just about his private sexual conduct or his private sexual comments or his attitudes toward women. It's somebody who is so unstable, so anxious to be vengeful, so ready to strike out, that makes him unacceptable as President of the United States.
Dave Cottrell, how do you think Speaker Ryan...
mishandling classified information, appeasing Iran.
Stop.
Okay, Gary, that's not what we're talking about right this minute. Dave Cottrell, how would you evaluate how Speaker Ryan has handled the last 48 hours?
Well, he's in a difficult situation. I mean, it's lose-lose. What are you going to do at this point? The strategy they needed was a few months ago that Mike Kaufman in Colorado used, which is, look, don't give Hillary Clinton a blank check. They've known for a long time the direction this campaign was headed, and Gary Bauer can twist himself into whatever kind of pretzel he wants to. The truth is, we're going to have to come up with a whole new definition of hypocrisy to talk about how, the religious right is supporting a guy like Donald Trump, even after what's come out. And by the way, we haven't seen the last of it. There's plenty more. I'd say run for your lives. I understand what Donald Trump is doing right now. I understand, the situation, the campaigns, and what I can't understand is anybody defending him. He's gonna napalm the whole village, and to try to win a battle that is lost already. The problem is, nobody survives in the village when it's all over. I think, we got to get as far away from this thing as we possibly can as Republicans and start to define what the party is. On November 9th, that'll probably be the most important day of this election because it'll be over and we can start
that would be great to define what the party is.
What the path forward needs to be. And I hope that we can get together with some people who
by the Republican
support
Party.
Mr. Trump. But the truth is we can't win an election this way. I mean, we've never seen a candidate implode like this 28 days out from an election, at least not in modern times.
Gary, I'm going to ask you a couple questions now, but while I do it, I'm going to ask you, please just try not to talk over the other guests who are on the show, because it's not helpful to our viewers. They can't hear them, and it's a little rude.
I guess I watched too much of the Kane debate.
I understand. Well, again, a minute ago you were talking about how this should all be about policy, and then you just launched an ad hominem attack on Al Gore. So I'm trying to figure out whether you want to talk about policy or whether you want to talk about the alleged personal indiscretions of a former vice president who's done one campaign event in this campaign so far. Which is it, policy or personality? What do you want to talk about?
I'm trying to figure out whether the left is serious about sexual assault.
I don't want to hear about the left, Gary. You just said you want to talk about policy. You said you wanted to talk about policy, and literally the next words out of your mouth were Al Gore masseuses, massage. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk policy?
You want me to answer your question, or are you going to filibuster your own show?
Well, it is my show, so
I'm trying to figure out whether these issues of personal conduct actually matter or not to the left. That's the only thing they're raising about Donald Trump. They're afraid to fight on the issues of open borders, trade deals that gut our economy,
right.
Appeasement of Iran. Go down the list. If the campaign was about those issues, Hillary Clinton wouldn't see the light of day.
So, Gary, let me
all
ask,
the left has with their Republican friends is to try to smear the Republican candidate. And by the way, I can't ever imagine Harry Reid or Nancy Pelosi bailing out on a Democrat presidential candidate. And in fact, they didn't say a word when Hillary Clinton spent the last 3 years obstructing justice and destroying evidence that was central to an investigation of her mishandling of classified information.
Bob, there's a lot to work with there. I'm just going to let you pick and choose at what you'd like to respond to there. And again, Gary, if you could just let Bob speak, please.
One, these are completely baseless attacks on Hillary Clinton. She said using a private email server was a mistake. She's not going to make excuses for it. There's no evidence that anybody got hold of any confidential information because of that. The FBI director, who's a Republican, said there's no basis to move forward here. That's number one. Number two, the recipe that Gary is offering for the Republican Party to go forward is a recipe that would doom that party for a long time. If you look at the polling data, it is absolutely clear that Americans are far closer by a good majority to Hillary Clinton's positions on immigration reform than they are to Donald Trump's. If the Republican Party is going to go out there and say, we want to take away a woman's right to choose, we want to restrict the rights of women, we don't respect women, we don't believe in equal pay, or we're going to take away LGBT rights and religious freedom is their kind of euphemism for that, that Republican Party will lose with the rising American electorate, not only this year, but for years and years to come. Finally, I just have to say, Al Gore is one of the most honorable people I've ever met. Those allegations are entirely unsubstantiated, and Gary is just throwing mud to try to make a case for somebody for whom you cannot make a case. It was Donald Trump who smeared himself. No one else smeared him.
Okay, let's finish with some metrics here. I wanted to start with Dave, then Bob, then Gary. Tell me who's going to win and what percentage of the overall popular vote they're going to get. Dave?
Hillary Clinton's going to win. Overall percentage of the popular vote's going to be around 47, 48. And electorally, it'll be over 100 electoral votes. Although I will say that there's a possibility that Donald Trump could win a state or two that Governor Romney did not win. There will be that many states or more that he will lose that Governor Romney did win.
Bob, I know you think Hillary's going to win. What percentage of the popular vote will she get?
I think Dave's about right. I think it's 46, 47, 48% of the vote. And I think she's headed right now for around 340, 345 electoral votes.
Gary, tougher for you because your guy's currently behind. So what number does he need to get, will he get to win?
Yeah, I'm not even going to go down that road. I'm not a political prostigator, but I do believe that if, God forbid, Hillary Clinton wins, it will be a failed presidency because it'll be the same policies of the last 8 years that have devastated our economy and weakened us abroad.
Gary Bauer, Bob Shrum, Dave Kochel.
Heretofore known forevermore as the Three Amigos.
And with that, you guys are great. We're going to have you all back on the show. Actually, it would be kind of awesome to have them all here in one room because there would be fisticuffs.